Okay, Grandma Landwehr is going to read a book for Emma and Caleb and Noah called Curious George Learns the Alphabet by H.A. Ray. It's published by the Houghton Mifflin Company in Boston. It's the 5th printing. The book was copyrighted in 1963. This is George. He lived with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. He was a good little monkey, but he was always curious. This morning, George was looking at some of his friend's books. They were full of black and white marks and dots and lines, and George was curious. What could one do with them? The man with the yellow hat came just in time. "You don't tear a book apart to find out what's in it," he said. "You read it, George. Books are full of stories. Stories are made of words, and words are made of letters. If you want to read a story, you have to know the letters of the alphabet. Let me show you." So the man took a big pad and he began to draw. George was curious. "This is an A," the man said. "The A is the first letter of the alphabet." And now you can add 4 feet and a long tail, and an A becomes an alligator with its mouth wide open. The word alligator starts with an A. This is a big A. There is also a small A. All letters come in big and small. This is a small A. It looks like a piece of an apple. George knew alligators and apples. He could eat apples, and alligators could eat you if you didn't watch out. This is a big B. The big B looks like a bird. If you put your feet on it, if we put feet on it, and a tail and a bill. And the word bird begins with a B. Birds come in all colors. This bird is blue. George loved to watch birds. This is a small bee. It could be a bee. This bee is busy buzzing around a blossom. The bee's body has black and yellow stripes, and George kept away from bees. They might sting, and that would be bad. See the bees swirling around. This is a big C. We will make it into a crab, a big crab with a shell and feet and 2 claws. And this is a small C. The small C is like the big C, only smaller. So it becomes a small crab. It's cute. Crabs live in the ocean. They can swim or run sideways and backwards. Crabs can be funny, but they can also pinch you. "You now have 3 letters, George," the man said. A, B, C. With these 3 letters, you can make a word. The first word, you can read yourself. The word is cab. You know what a cab is. I once took you for a ride in a cab, remember? Now let's draw the next letter. The big D could be a dinosaur. We have no live dinosaurs today. They have died out. Those that you see in museums are dummies. George had seen dinosaurs in a museum once. Do you remember reading the book about George in the dinosaur museum? That was a funny book, wasn't it? So Emma, Caleb, and Noah, do you remember reading that? And this is a small D. It looks like a dromedary. A dromedary is a camel with 1 hump. Riding on a dromedary can make you dizzy because it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And they're riding it in the desert, which also starts with a D. And this is a big E. E is an elephant. He is eating his evening meal, eggplants. George loved elephants. This is the small e. It could be of an ear of a man or an ear of a monkey. People's ears and monkey ears look very much alike, and they look like the letter E. This is the big F. The big F is a fireman fighting a fire. Never fool the fire department, or you go to jail, and that's no fun. This is a small f. The small f is a flower. George's friend was fond of flowers. George preferred food. And food starts with an F too. The big G is a goose. Goose starts with a G, like George. The small g is a goldfish. He is in a glass bowl and looks very happy and gay. So now you know 7 letters, George, said the man. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. With these letters, we can already make quite a few words. I have written some of them down. You read them while I get your lunch. Dad, Ed, bad, bag, cage, bed, feed. It seems the only word you can read is bad, said the man when he came back. I think we had enough for one morning. I'll feed you now, and you can take your nap. After your nap, we'll go on with our other letters. Oh, George was in trouble, ripping apart the pages. The big H. The big H is a house. It stands on a hill behind a hedge. George's home used to be the jungle, but now he lives in a house. The small h is a horse. He's happy because he has heaps of hay. George has his own horse. It's a hobby horse. Yep, I think I've seen hobby horses in your houses too. Right, Noah? Or Caleb or Emma? The big I, burr, says the birdie. The big I is just a long line going straight down. It does not look like much. It could be an icicle. The small I is a line with a dot on the top. It could be an iguana. An iguana is a sort of a lizard. Iguanas don't like ice. They like the warm sunshine. And so does George. And so does Grandma. How about you, Emma and Caleb and Noah? Do you like the warm sunshine like George? This is the big J. The big J is a jaguar. Jaguars live in the jungle. George knew jaguars. He had lived in the jungle once. The small J is a jack-in-the-box. George had a jack-in-the-box as a toy. He just loved to make it jump. Did you have a jack-in-the-box toy, Emma, Caleb, or Noah? I had one of those when I was little. It was a clown that jumped out. The big K. The big K is a big kangaroo called Katie. The small K is a small kangaroo. He is Katie's kid. The big L is a lion. He is lucky. He's going to have leg of lamb for lunch, and he loves it. The big L also is in Grandma Landwehr's name, because Landwehr starts with an L. The big I is a lean lady. She's strolling along a lake licking a lollipop. George liked lollipops. The big M is a mailman. His name is Mr. Miller. He brings a letter. Maybe it's for me, thinks George. This is the small M. He is a mouse. He is munching mints. And you do know what else it is, said. Yes, said the man to George. M is the 13th letter of the ABCs. The whole alphabet has only 26 letters, so 13 is just half of it. You can make lots of words with these letters. Why don't you try? Here's a pad and a pencil. So George started to think of words, then he wrote them down. It was fun to make words out of letters. So you see, he's writing all these words down over here. Now let me see, said the man. Ball, milk, cake, ham, jam, egg, lime, feed, kid. That's very good. But what on earth is a dog and a julep or a bliminiminimum? There's no such things. Just any letters do not make words, George. We have to look for some new letters now. Oh, and I forgot to say that some of the letters are the first letter of your names, Emma and Caleb and Noah. The big N is the beginning of Noah's name. And we could go back and look at what was the beginning of Emma's name. I think it's the big E, like the elephant. And the beginning of Caleb's name is the big C, like the crab. So, the big N for Noah, or napkin, is a napkin. A napkin is standing on a dinner plate. It looks neat. George has seen napkins folded this way in the restaurant when he was a dishwasher. The small N is a nose in the face of a man. He has a new blue necktie and is nibbling noodles. See the noodles he's nibbling? All start with N. Nibbling noodle. The big O is for a big ostrich. And the small O is a small ostrich, of course. Ostriches eat odd objects. One ostrich once had tried to eat a bugle that belonged to George. The big P is a big penguin, but it also starts for Pepin, like Emma and Caleb's last name. And Noah's last name starts with a big F, like as in fireman, for Finken. So the F is for Finken and the P is for Pepin, and also for penguin. And the small P is a small penguin. See the big P and the little p? These penguins live near the South Pole. They use their flappers as paddles. George knew penguins from the zoo. And we saw penguins at the zoo too, didn't we? When we were together. See, and the penguin pops down. This is the big Q. Is a quail. Quails have short tails. They must keep quiet. If you want to watch quails, you must keep quiet. If you want to watch quails, they are quite shy. The small Q is a quarterback. Quarterback has to be quick. Like Aaron Rodgers was a quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. George was quick too. He would qualify for quarterback. So now get your football, George, said the man. It will be good to play a little before you go on with your letters. Okay, so George is now going to play with his football. George knew how to play the game. He knew how to carry the ball. He knew how to take a three-point stance. And he knew how to get ready for the kickoff. And he was a fine halfback too. And he could take a short pass or recover a fumble. And good game, said the man. But time's up. Back to the alphabet. So the big R. So the big R stands for rabbit and also for Renee, which is Emma's middle name and Grandma Landwehr's first name. So some rabbits are white with red eyes. Rabbits have radishes and they love radishes. George loved rabbits. He had one as a pet. The small R is for a rooster. The rooster crows when the sun rises. Two roosters will start a rumpus. They really can get rough. The big S. What does an S stand for? Grandpa Landwehr. Is an S for Scott, but S is also for big snail. See how squirrely it is? And also a snake would be like that too. And the small S is for a small snail. Snails are slow. They sneak into their shells when they are scared of something. George thought snails looked silly. This is the big T. It's for table. The table is set for two. It's time for tea. George did not care for tea, but he liked toast. The small T is a tomahawk. Also looks like a cross. The tomahawk George had as a toy tomahawk. It was a tiny one. He took it along when he played Indian. He had a teepee, an Indian tent. So see his teepee right over here. So now it's time for a snack, said the man. Run over to the baker, George, and hand him this note. Then come back with donuts, 1 dozen of them. No tricks, please. George was curious. He looked at the note the man had written. 1 dozen donuts. Maybe he should write something on it too. How about writing 10 instead of 1? He had just learned the T. First a T, and then an E, and then an N. Uh-oh. That sounds like trouble, doesn't it? Said the baker. 10 dozen donuts is quite a lot. But that's what the note says. We need an extra big bag for them. Why, George? Cried the man. Then he saw the note. Well, that comes from teaching the alphabet to a little monkey. I told you, no tricks. You may not eat any donuts now, George. Put them back in the bag, and let's go on with the letters. Oh, that's a lot of donuts. The big U is a big umbrella standing upright. So it says the umbrella handle is also like a U, if you read that upside down. George knew how to use an umbrella. The small U is a small umbrella. When it is raining, umbrellas are useful, but you must keep under the umbrella unless you want to get wet. George thought rain was a nuisance. The big V is a big Valentine. It says, for George, from the man with the yellow hat. And then the small V is for a small Valentine. George loved Valentines. He got several Valentine cards every year. One card came from Nevada. Emma and Caleb and Noah, do you like Valentines? Isn't it fun to make Valentine cards together? So remember when we did that one? When we celebrated your birthday in February? Your birthdays are in the month with Valentine's Day. Now this is the big W, and the small W are whiskers, big ones and small ones. The walrus has whiskers. Some men have whiskers too. You can make a mustache with them. And cats have whiskers. George did not have whiskers, but he was curious how he would look if he did. So he drew a picture with himself. We like to draw pictures together too, right? Right? Emma and Caleb and Noah. Isn't that fun? We could draw pictures like that. The next letter is the letter X. The big X and the small X look alike. Only one is big and one is small. Just like the big W and the small W and or the V or the U or the S and some of the other letters. But, said the man, there are a few words that start with an X and they don't look like an X. Except one, and that is Christmas, which is Xmas, but we always call it Christmas. Santa stands for Xmas or Christmas. Jesus actually stands for Christmas because he was celebrating Jesus' birthday. There is only one Santa, so we'll only need one picture. George thought X was exciting. So the X is small x and big X. And, but I prefer to write out Christmas. This is the big Y. The big Y is a big yak. And the small y is a small yak. He is still young. Yaks live in Tibet. If you haven't seen any yaks yet, you may find one at the zoo. And this is a big Z, is a big zebra, and a small Z is a small zebra. The zebras are zipping along in a zest. And do you know what? Said the man. Z is the last letter. Now you know all the 26 letters of the alphabet, and now you may have the donuts. The end. So, here's George spelled out the donuts to spell the end with donuts. Okay, so hopefully Noah, Emma, and Caleb, you've already had treat time for bedtime, or treat before bedtime, and now you're all ready to go to sleep because I know that was a long book. Or maybe you're watching this in the car because it's more like a car ride book. Right, so that is the end. And George is eating his donut, and the man with the yellow hat is going away with his Z. And George is dropping his colored pencils, and that is the end of the book. So thank you for listening. Have a very good sleep. I love you, and Jesus loves you.